Welcome, everyone, to Soul Talks on the 1st of October. We made it, and now we are into eclipse season. So this is a really potent gene key 18, and the shadow of judgment, and the city of perfection, and the pathway of integrity. I love this gene key because it hits us right where we live. And I have this gene key in my hologenetic profile. It represents the time of life when we were teenagers. And when we rebelled and became judgmental, when we became in our mind. This gene key is, the title of this gene key is the power of the mind, the healing power of the mind. So let's hold that in our listening to how can our minds actually be the healing agent in the world. And so let's allow this gene key to guide us on the pathway of becoming the bodhisattvas. If you know that term from Tibetan Buddhism, the bodhisattva is that enlightened one who decides to come back, chooses to come back to support the awakening of others. I love that concept because it's baked into this gene key 18 in perfection. So we get to hold. Today, we're going to be holding paradox. We're going to be holding both and. We're going to hold that the world is imperfectly perfect, and we're going to hold that the world is perfect. And we're going to hold also that we are perfect as we are. So is it possible for you to hold both? How would you have to rearrange it into your psyche, in your heart mind, to really feel your perfection, even when you're on a growth path, even when you're evolving, which in its nature means I'm not perfect, right? So how do you hold both? What do you need to know inside your own self to hold both? So that's the talk for today. And that's where we're going to get. We're going to start off in judgment, because what a fun place to start off. The place where we all know so much about this. The city where we are freaking experts. Yeah. Judgment is saying there's something wrong with the world. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong here. And I will probably have to defend myself from it, or figure it out, or project it onto you and blame you for it. This is the mess that we get into when we start to differentiate from our parents and to know ourselves as separate selves in our teenage years. So I remember, I think a couple decades ago, when Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is, came out. Anybody read that book? It's pretty epic. It's a classic. So Loving What Is by Byron Katie. And she developed a Socratic method of working with your mind. And it's this 4 parts, like, is it true? Do I absolutely know it's true? How do I feel when I think that thought? And then the last one is like a turnaround. And I love the turnaround, because the turnaround really dissolves that idea that there's something out there. And that's the linchpin. This is the linchpin of transformation inside the 18th gene key. I'm going to present something before I even get into that. Of all the things that Richard Rudd said about the 18th gene key, I feel like this is the most impactful for our time right now. And he said, how we will perfect our world will be rooting out the shadow and transforming it. So how we will perfect our world is when we root out our shadow and transform it. Really take that in, because I think we know and we've heard these words, and yet we get caught up in projection and blame. When really Gene Key 18 is saying this, and the gift of integrity is saying, when you stay in your own lane and you use your judgment to see yourself even further, you actually heal the world. You actually make this journey to 2027 possible. So remember, 2027 is the time that the Gene Key says we will transcend and move into our gift frequency. Let's hold space for that. I mean, let's actually consider that a possibility and stop kind of fucking around with it. I mean, today, the Power Path report came out, and I love Lena and Jose Stevens. I didn't know they were in the same lineage as one of my teachers, so I'm like really excited. But I've always been following the Power Path report's monthly essays around the energy of the time. And it caught my attention because it's October 1st and the energy was be ruthless. But what was the energy about being ruthless directed toward? Not someone else, about yourself. Be ruthless with your complaining. Be ruthless with your judgments. Be ruthless with your victim energy. Be ruthless with what you think is not possible, your procrastination. That one really spoke to me. I love that because it's go time. That full moon, it initiated us. And yes, we have eclipses where there's going to be a lot letting go. And I think by now when we look back at what was, we can see that world is no longer sustainable. We've grown past it in our consciousness. So even though there's a nostalgia around these people who are passing and the pets that are passing and the way life was, we can really feel that, allow that, feel the love that was there. And don't give so much time to it. Like allow some time to acknowledge it, to feel it, and then move your body, turn it around and face forward. Because what we're here to do isn't to sit in the past. What we're here to do, like why we even said that we would come here, is for something that is coming. What is it going to take for us to really get that? You know, it's personal and it's not personal. Like we are living a personal life and it's not personal that we came here with a dharma, and the dharma is not personal. The dharma is like, stop wallowing and move on to your path, move on to your future. Create that which you're here to create. It is new. And so, yes, there is a lot of letting go, and there are souls who do not want to be here for that. They don't have a sacred contract for it. We get to really honor them. Who knows what's next? I mean, there might be other dimensional planes that they're needed and called upon. I mean, like, look, I don't know. And that's really the gift of Gene Key 18, when the mind has been cultivated, when the mind has been trained, then it becomes a healing force. And in fact, the city, perfection, people who have this, you could literally cause and create in other people a healing and a transformation by who you're being, because you have cultivated your mind. It gives me chills, because really we have to fight for our vibration. We have to fight for it sometimes. And these talks and you coming here is you remembering, oh, right, I thought I was training the dog. No, I'm training my mind. I am training a dog, but I'm training myself as I train the dog, because it's all about my mind. You know, an 11-month-old puppy helps me see who I'm being. Right? Your kids help you see who you're being. The people passing help you see who you're being. Yeah, that's right. 18 is your evolution. That's right, because the programming partner is 17, gene key 17, a highly mental gene key as well. So we're in the realm of the mind. We're in the ring of matter. We're in the thing that stops us as humans from seeing the perfection right now, right here. If you've ever done plant medicine or had a spiritual experience of bliss, ananda, bliss, in that experience, was there anything wrong? Yeah. I see Kelly shaking her head. No. Yeah. There was nothing wrong. So does that not show us something that in those higher states of consciousness, when we're actually not identified with who we think we are and our personality, that we're actually understanding that nothing is wrong? Let's turn it around, that everything is perfect as it is. Breathe into that. Everything is perfect as it is. And Gene Key 18 holds the paradox, and yet there is growing to do because we're doing something. It's like this soul is having a journey, this journey called forgetting and remembering. So in this journey of forgetting and remembering, it's a divine game. It's Leela, as the Hindus say. And so we play the game. But there is that spark of light, the inner sun that remembers that the I am is inhabiting you. The I am consciousness is inhabiting you. The I am remembers I am the sun. I am the all. I am this. I am that. Inside of you, that remembrance is there. We just get to wake up from the dream. So the 18 is incredible because it's teaching you, me, us, we, how to work with our judgments, how to work with our pain, how to work with that apparent separation. So back to Byron Katie and her book, Loving What Is, there's that method to really start to work with the mind, because what we're doing is we're peeling away that merging that happens when we think we are that mind. So I was going to share the story of, I was listening to one of the audio tapes back in the day before YouTube of Byron Katie working with this young man. And he was talking about how judgmental his parents were. And she said, "Welcome to our planet. I mean, what planet do you think this is? This is the planet where we judge people. And you're judging them for judging, you're judging." Right? So it's like, we can't get out of it. It's a hall of mirrors. It's everywhere. And so there's a way to work with it, not to make it go away and try to be perfect, because then again, that's another shadow frequency, just right on top of the shadow. And what does that do? That makes us become superior to other people. So this shadow has inferiority in it, and it has superiority in it. And if you play that axis, you probably play inferior, superior, inferior, superior, inferior, superior. And all that doesn't mean anything. It's just a mechanism inside of each one of us called the personality. Gurdjieff called it autopilot. That's your autopilot mechanism. But once we see through, and this is the discipline that it takes, and this is why Be Ruthless is the theme for this month. Fight for your vibration. And that's going to involve an ego death, of course, because the ego wants to be right. But the game you're playing, if you're here, you're playing a different game. And the game you're playing is to truly wake up. And so when you get triggered, it can be a really great thing, because on the other side of being triggered is I'm actually going to peel off a layer of shadow. Because shadow means I can't see it. I'm blind to it. And when we have a comfort zone where things are the same, I mean, I love rhythms and I love routine. It really works for my body. And it's really great when something like, 11-month-old puppy comes into my world and it just creates like havoc and upheaval. And I find myself getting pissed about things that are very small, because I like my world ordered. I like my world the way I like my world. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, totally got it. Nothing wrong with that, except that I get to let that go. I get to breathe in and see, and even smile, because when we get to a certain place in our path, I mean, there are certain shadows that I do not smile at, and there are other shadows that I'm in relationship more with and I can smile more at. Does that happen for you? Things you do, right? Yeah. And you can laugh. Here I go again. Or here she goes again. You can third person it. Oh, here Kenlyn goes again, doing that thing. Yeah. That's a little peeling back. So we become disidentified with the mind, disidentified with victim. Victim is the ego is so crafty. Victim is one of the most, well, it's the shadow, really, because it really it takes away our power and denies that we are that light and that we chose to be here, that we are God in flesh, that we incarnated because we wanted to bring heaven to earth. It denies all of that. And it feels very comfortable in its victimness. And oftentimes, if I'm driving even and someone cuts me off and I get angry, I realize I felt entitled to not be cut off. I'm a victim of their behavior. It's like it's everywhere. It's insidious. And again, hold it lightly. Smile. Peel it back. Because all we need to do inside of this gene key is witness it. It's going to do what it does, like the image in meditation of clouds roaming across a blue sky. The weather changes all the time. Some of you came to this call feeling emotional or challenged, and it, like, life is just doing life. It will do that. And some days we have a greater success in managing our minds, and other days we just merge with it. We're full on until we don't, until we wake up out of the dream. So the 18 is this gift of seeing the flaws. Now, it belongs in human design to a channel. And I have this channel. Some of you who know me well probably know that I have this channel, but it links the spleen with the root, and it's called the channel of perfection. But really, what is inside of that? It's this gene key 18, which Ra called the gate of the nag, or the mother. I think Ra had some mother issues. He was the channel for human design. But it's the one like, get your jacket on. You're going to be cold. You have to get your jacket on. Pick your socks up. It's that mother energy. But really, when I looked into this channel of perfection, it completes from the root to the spleen. It's about life can be so good. Life can be so good. So the 18, through the gift of integrity really holds people high. Life can be really good. It's the role model. It says it's awesome to take care of your health. It's awesome to take care of your needs. It's awesome to work out or eat right and or eat fruits and vegetables, whatever it is. It's awesome to love your life. It's awesome to be in right relationship. That's what's underneath. That's where this gift of integrity. And let's look at the word integrity from the word integer, wholeness, whole number. Buckminster Fuller said that word tensegrity, that tension and that integrity is what creates the strength for a structure to be solid. So integrity is our pathway to this perfection. It means staying in your own lane, having integrity with yourself. And we know that when we're playing a big game, when we have big visions, we're going to be out of integrity because we're playing outside our comfort zone. And that's okay because we know how to restore it. We restore it through those little mini deaths. I was wrong. I'm sorry. What I thought before was not it. This is where I have to go now. I really get the impact on you of my change. Being in the conversation, communicating, and yet being really clear with what is yours to do. Staying in your lane. And so that dissatisfaction, the flaws, the flaws that we can see, and let's presence that channel is not an individual channel. It's a projected channel. So if you have this, that means that you have to wait for the invitation to share with people what their flaws are on how to fix it, which is why I love coaching, because that's an invitation. Or teaching, because that's an invitation. And so it's also a collective energy. It's best put to use. This gene key and understanding what flaws are best put to use in a structure, in a system. So instead of getting lost in minutia about other people's lives, we get to see and imagine, how can this work better for everyone? That's the healing power of the mind. The mind that can solutionize. When I was working on getting this dog and getting her some training, I had an idea, and I floated this idea to someone inside of a nonprofit organization, and not to call them out, because I was there once and I totally understand. But I had my idea, and the thing that came back to me was, no, it's not possible. Have you ever run into people who, when you have an inspired idea, they'll tell you it's not possible? Yeah. I felt like when I heard that, it was a defense against overwhelm. Like, look, lady, I'm already overwhelmed. I don't want to hear any more about what's possible. And it was a note for myself of, let's look at what Juanita said in Many Mothers was, anytime someone says, how can we do this? The answer is yes. How can we do this? Yes. And that opens up an entirely new possibility for answers to come through. So I was told a long time ago, when I used to work for I was in sales for an online dating program. The therapist, who was kind of a matchmaker, said to me, always ask how questions. How can it be possible if we institute a training program for foster dogs? It really shifts the perspective and the listening in other people. So this is how the 18 becomes really ninja, and it stays inside of its integrity. It asks how questions because it can't help but see the flaws. It can't help it. It's how it's wired. It's how it's made. We are evolutionaries. We are change agents. We are here to make things better in an already perfect world. That is the paradox. So when the come from place is perfection, then there's just joy of living rather than the anger that just shit is falling apart. All of you people are doing it wrong. The government, you guys are idiots. Right? Everyone's like, yeah, right. Yeah, they're low worldview. That's what it is. They're low worldview. They believe that things are separately real. Most people inside of government, at least the public facing that we see, and the reason why the arguments are the way they are is because their worldview is low. And remember, in the world of worldview, everything is included and transcended. So you cannot skip a worldview. So when we evolve in our worldview, which means we can hold as many truths as possible at the same time, and also discern, Gene Key 18 in integrity discerns there's a better idea. That's not a better idea. This is a better idea. It has discernment in it. That's an integral perspective. So when we get to that level, we're actually holding a frequency at that level that is forcing others to evolve. Do you get that? Do you believe that? Because to the extent that you believe that, you're going to live that. We can really turn around and try to help people, evolve their worldview. Come on. But that's like, trying to walk a dog on a leash who doesn't want to go. You're just dragging them along. What about you evolving your worldview? And how do we do that? We do that through the work of, is that true? Is that judgment actually true? Is it absolutely true? How do I feel when I think that thought? Who would I be without that thought? And these are judgments. These are not discernments. This is what I want you to really get, because spiritual people overapply shit and we miss the point. It's on judgments, not discernment. So let's see what else, if there's anything else. So the gift of integrity, a couple things I want to say. One is remembering that the gift is adopting creative solutions. The person who can get into the possibility. You've trained your mind to be a vessel for possibility, which means to me that it can come through as divine inspiration. And the second thing is holding people high, having high standards. There's a certain frequency when you hold people high, when you speak to the best in them. And this is a real transition from caretaking, people pleasing, those kind of energies that on its face might look really healing or sweet or kind, but actually look into it. Are you saying when you do that, yeah, I agree, you're totally disempowered and I'm going to help you? That's not Gene Key 18, right? Gene Key 18 is saying, I'm going to hold you high. I know you think you can't do it, but I know you can do it. I see you. I know you're really capable. That micro shift is transformative. And that's when we hold people high, we hold ourselves high, we speak to ourselves like that. I hear that you think you can't do that. But I know who you are. I've seen you in action. And then we move to the city. And that city, by its very aura, walks into a room. and it shifts and changes other people. It doesn't even have to say a word. So let's end with this notion that Richard Rudd said in this transmission of Gene Key 18 that I want to carry forward. You are perfect right down to the core. So maybe put your hands on your heart if you feel called, on your solar plexus, your belly. Close your eyes and breathe that in. Find the part of you that is true. I am perfect to the core. To find that part, we have to bypass the ego, the personality, to find that essential self, the self that never dies. I am perfect to the core. And then let's gather our energy together and let's beam it out at each other, at the world. And let's say, you are perfect to the core. And may all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts. Namaste.